What's up, guys and gals, and welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today, in the world of indie games, we're going to be taking another look at Ostranauts. There's going to be a lot of repeats this week where we're checking in on stuff from like a year ago, because we're kind of like in between release cycles right now, which means there's really no games coming out, and all the demos that are out for new games, they have their release in like 6 weeks, which means if I cover the demo now, I can't cover the 1.0 when it comes out. So that leaves us in a situation where we're going to be checking up on a lot of games that we've checked out in the past, and one of those games is Ostranauts. Now, as you've seen from the title, I believe that Ostranauts is probably one of the most unique RPGs on the market today. For those of you that enjoyed a game like Hard Space Shipbreakers or something like Viscera Cleanup Detail, and you'd like to see like a dad game like that, or something like Landlord Super be mixed together with something like The Sims and a little bit of RimWorld in there, and then a whole bunch of RPG that is yet to be implemented, Ostranauts, I think, offers a unique experience that no other game can give you. Ostranauts is a game about being what is effectively a corporate slave. Like, you're effectively, you're kind of like an indentured servant to a dystopian corporation in space. And being an indentured servant to that corporation, your job is to work in a shipyard. That's it. This is an old ship graveyard where there's just like hundreds of ships around, and it's your job to break them down and try to find anything valuable that you can on board. And once you've got all the valuables that are on board, you take them back and you sell them to the salvage broker, and then you move on with your day to the next craft that you want to go to. Apparently this place is still spitting out air. I opened up this bulkhead on the back, but now it's kind of stuck open and venting atmosphere everywhere. A little bit unfortunate. The game continues to develop. This is the newest game, and in fact happens inside the Neo Scavenger universe. This game is from the creators of Neo Scavenger. This is what's going on in space while you're getting chased by werewolves and, eaten by cannibals on Earth after the post-apocalypse. These people in space seem blissfully unaware of what has happened on Earth because this is a very low sci-fi game. So this is a sci-fi game that is very much rooted kind of in physics and like realism. I call that low sci-fi. There's not like laser cannons. There's not like aliens running around. It's basically just man versus a very rough environment. Is this going to depressurize? Hope not. About to find out. It did not depressurize. That's good. And so the goal of this game is actually kind of inchoate. What is the point of this game? It's really just to enrich yourself by breaking down and stealing parts from ships. You can do whatever you want with those parts, so if I wanted to, this is my ship over here. It's called the Sucks to Be Us. I didn't name it that. It was just named that on its own when I started the game off. But we can take parts off of this ship and we can weld them onto our ship. All of these systems right here and subsystems, we can pull these out and we can relocate them. The most recent patch to Ostranauts made it so that this derelict ship that I'm on right now, I could actually purchase it back at the corporate headquarters, and then I could bring a whole bunch of stuff over on my barge and I could fix it up and I could flip it and sell it for profit. There is now combat in the game since the last time we played. I've got myself a pistol over here. There's no pirates on board this ship, so I didn't have my pistol on me. But I do have a pistol, and I can shoot people. You can get into fist fights. You can get into machete fights in space. You can get into sword fights in space. There will be people that are trying to fight you. The only combat I've been in so far, combat is not like everywhere in this game. The only combat that I've been in so far was with the police. I started out with a criminal background on accident in order to get some other bonuses. And so the police beat me up while trying to take me into custody. And I felt like in that situation, it's probably a bad idea to swing back and just, roll up in a ball, cover my head and say that I'm surrendering and like hope that it ends soon. That was why I was hoping that I was not dead when it was all over with. And so what are we looking for on board this ship? Well, anything and everything, if I'm being square with you. We've got some air pumps that are inside the walls over here. I know this game can be very disorienting to someone that has never seen it before. It's got kind of like a very busy tile set. So what we're looking at here is this is the power grid array, or like the utility subsector for a medium-sized hauler. They've got a helium-3 tank over here. You need helium-3 and you need deuterium in order to run a nuclear reactor. And this ship does have a nuclear reactor on it, which is then feeding power into these batteries that it generates with the helium-3 and the deuterium. From there, these batteries are powering air pumps that are in the walls over here, that are allowing it to circulate oxygen all over the place and keep the cabin pressurized. That is until I opened up that back airlock and vented all the atmosphere into space. We've got a heater over here. There's a nav console on this side that's actually still in okay shape. Lots and lots of air vents and air pumps and things around. We've also got these little bulkheads down here, which are a new addition from the last time that I played the game. And these little bulkheads can hide all kinds of stuff. So, like, we've got some coveralls in here. We've got a couple of TV dinners. So we've got Nacho Fiesta and we've got Kung Pao Chicken. Looks like we've got a tactical knife squared away. I'll probably take that just in the off chance that any pirates show up. They won't have a readily accessible weapon that they can dash for to use against me while I'm trying to shoot them. Inside of here, we've got a power drill. It looks like we have a battery charger inside of there, which is kind of cool. That right there is a cooler that's not necessarily working at the moment. All of the thrusters seem to be in okay shape, so we'll probably peel those off. The number one money things that you're looking for on board a ship like this are the thrusters, and you're looking for the reactor, you're looking for the air pumps, and you're looking for, I guess, fuel intakes would probably be a really good idea to take on out too. There's another wall rack over here. What's on this wall rack? Anything good? Bunch of scrap aluminum. It looks like we've got some mechanical parts in there. We've got some scrap steel and some scrap electronics. Those actually have a function. These are not just like trash loot items that you're finding around on the ground. They actually can be used to repair everything inside of this ship. So items have two states when you're inside of a salvage barge. They have damaged and they have normal state. If they're damaged, it means you actually need to replace componentry, which is where this stuff would come into play. And you basically exchange these resources in order to take a non-functioning item and make it functional again. Whereas in the case of, I'm going to have to drag this back to my ship, I do need more storage solutions. Let's go ahead and take this, and we will right-click on it, and we will pick it up. We're going to have to drag it because it's heavy. This is another new feature of the game. Back the last time I played this game about a year and a half ago when I showed it off, or like a year ago, you didn't have to drag items. You had a backpack, and you could put like entire nuclear reactors in your backpack. Now there are heavy objects, and there are storable objects, and with the heavy objects, you've actually got to like drag them around and install them. Let's put in a couple of storage crates here. I feel pretty positive about that idea, and I don't have a lot of storage inside of my ship. I just got done adding to it. When I first got my ship, it was basically like a little rectangle about, yay big. And so I've added this entire like nose cone right here, and then I have also added this entire engineering department on this side. I'll probably do the same thing on this side to mirror it, and it'll go past the nose cone possibly. We'll probably end up putting the nav console inside of here so that I can fly, and then I'll move all this stuff. Like one side will be engineering, more than likely the right, and then the left side will be the cargo bay where I keep everything that I'm planning on selling when I get back to port. For now, doesn't really matter. I'm going to get to work, and we're going to start walking through this and tearing down some stuff to see if we can make some money. We're going to start from the front, and we're going to work our way to the back. And then I'll go ahead and I'll give you kind of like a loot list once I get finished here, because I think this is going to be a really long process. I'll probably do some cuts and like jump in from time to time to talk about things that I like about the game that come to mind like as things are happening, but I'm going to get to work trashing this thing. One thing that it's important to note about this game is that this game is entirely modular. So if you see something in this game, you can disassemble it, you can repair it, you can destroy it, you can move it and reinstall it somewhere else. Like, the only thing in the game that you cannot disassemble is airlocks, and I think that's just inherent to, like, the engine they used to design the game. I can't really explain to you why that is, but, like, airlocks are the one thing in the game that you can't really move around or do anything with. They represent kind of like a hard demarcation point for all of your salvaging efforts. What you're seeing right here is that I've pulled another bulkhead bin. Now that I've gotten done retrofitting my ship and getting it roughly into the shape that it's going to be for the next 20 hours or so, this is about 10 hours into a playthrough, so about 10 hours worth of prep work for this. Now that I've got it roughly in the shape that I want it to be, I'm installing lots of storage. Lots of, like, tasteful cabinets, lots of racks and shelves and places that I can organize my stuff inside of, basically. So for the creme de la creme over here, we do need to get the reactor out of this place. If you're wondering how much of a sim this game is, this is how you start up a nuclear reactor right here. And don't worry about the fact that half of the control panel is in Chinese. But this has an actual very specific set of steps that you have to go through in order to ignite and light off a nuclear reactor. So if I wanted to take this nuclear reactor and my ship was getting up to the size where it needed nuclear energy in order to be consistent with regards to its power grid, I would have to repair this thing. I would have to take it to my ship. I would have to install it. I would have to set up all the deuterium and the helium tanks. You don't, thankfully, have to set up intakes for the deuterium and the H3 yet. Or I'm sorry, the helium-3 yet. But I would have to install all those tanks. I would have to have the space for them. And then on top of that, there's a very specific book that you will sometimes find inside the context of the universe. And that book is like basically the only place where you can get the step-by-step how you start up a nuclear reactor. And I think I've done it one time like a year ago, and it's a long process that takes some getting used to. Before we pick this stuff up, we do want to repair it. Now, this is not damaged, which means that I can just refurbish it without any parts right now. And there you go. We took all the wear and tear off of it. But once we uninstall this bad boy, this is kind of like the main source of cash money that you are going to find on this boat. Most things that you pick up, like air pumps and thrusters, those are going to be worth in the realm of like $1,000 to like $4,000. The reactor, depending on who you sell it to, can be worth upwards of $100,000. So if you're trying to get yourself out of debt, and who in this actual salvage yard is not, you are definitely going to want to make that kind of money. Don't mind me. I'm just dragging. My man's got upper body strength, dude. Don't count him out. My man's got like the pectoral strength of a champion out here while he's moving an entire nuclear reactor by himself. This game does have survival elements, so you are going to have to keep... Actually, it's got a lot of elements that are here or not fully implemented yet, because this is a very, very ambitious game. But effectively, you've got all of these things down here. You've got everything from your hunger to how heavy the stuff is that you're carrying to how comfortable you are in your clothing, which will affect your mental state later on in different builds. Whether or not you got to take a dumpers right now, you've got to actually go to the bathroom in space. The good news is when you drop trow and you fire off a mud dragon in space, you do not have to worry about Neptune's kiss. So that is one problem that you will never have to deal with again. But on top of that, aside from, the auto save in this game is tremendously long and beefy. There we go. Other things that you have to worry about is that your character does not only have a physical state. If you right-click on your character, you have a giant grid of everything from like your perks to your stats to like how frequently you've had sex lately, and whether your character is desperate for like friendship and intimacy, and like whether they miss their family, and like how greedy they are and how they're perceived by others. This is like one of those games that you can tell from the placeholders that exist that this is going to be like an enormously complex game when it comes to the interacting systems. And given how good Neo Scavenger was, I've been watching this one with kind of the same level of interest that I've been watching Delta V with. It's a hard sci-fi simulator that I find that I almost always come back to, at least like once a year, to binge out and play like another 70 or 80 hours and see like what the new updates are. And I cannot recommend it highly enough. Now, is the game buggy? Absolutely. You are 100% going to run into bugs with this game. There are just way too many interconnecting systems made by a very small team that is trying to be faithful to like physics and weight and everything else that like you're going to run into problems sometimes. I would say for every 4 hours I play the game, I run into something that requires me to like load a save or to like turn the game off and then turn it back on again. It's kind of in that realm. I would say like every 3 to 5 hours. It's not like game breaking, but it will require you to like, well, I guess that is the definition of game breaking, I guess, is that like you got to load a save and like get a previous state or whatever. It happens from time to time. So do not get involved with this project if you're looking for something that is like silky smooth right now and is going to give you no problems. Honestly, even in 1.0, I feel like this is going to be a tremendously difficult game to polish, just due to how much complexity is here and like how much like faithfulness they're trying to conjure to sort of like this imaginary physical realm. To do all these tasks that you're seeing on screen, your character does have a full array of inventory items that help out with this. So in my case, I have a Weber Lance, which is like a $30,000 cutting torch that's built to function in space. I've got myself an angle grinder for taking down walls. I've got a crowbar, which is for opening locked containers and breaking open locked doors. I've got a drill over here, which is for installing and uninstalling items. I've got battery chargers for each of these objects back on my ship so that I'm self-sufficient. I've got a soldering iron over here, which is for repairing broken electronics. You are going to have like a full utility kit on you of just stuff that you can use to fix things, and I would recommend that you develop that over time. But the game does have fairly complex inventory management. I'm wearing an EVA suit right now. Before that, I had a pressure suit on, and if you don't know what a pressure suit is, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a suit that holds pressure, and that's about it. It doesn't have an oxygen tank or anything else. The air that's trapped inside the suit is what you get when you put it on, and you gotta work quickly. I'm a lot further into the game at this point, so I'm kind of like a dedicated professional salvager at this junction. This is my hand truck, by the way. They added a hand truck to the game. As I mentioned previously, in earlier builds, you could take about 1,000 items and just throw them all in your backpack and not worry about it, and your character could carry around impossibly huge loads like 3 nuclear reactors in his pocket. You can't do that anymore. You've got like loading tools, hand trucks, stuff like that help you move objects and get them back so that you can sell them. Go ahead and throw those in there. I've actually been doing quite a lot of work on this ship. I know it seems like I've just been talking a lot, nothing has been happening, but I have actually been disassembling stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and load things onto the ship because we've gutted this guy pretty good right now. He's not completely gutted, but we're about half full. Items in this game do have weight, so your ship gets heavier the more stuff you're carrying, which is then going to necessitate more thrusters. The good news is you can just steal somebody else's thrusters from the boneyard. I would almost never buy anything brand new in this game. There's kind of like no point. Now, it's important to note as well that you are free to work on these wrecks for as long as you want to. These wrecks do not go anywhere. So, like, if you've got to leave and come back because you're full up on storage, or because you want to go work on something else, like you want to fiddle with your own ship, or you want to install new parts and go visit another wreck, do it. There's nothing stopping you. This game does not have any overarching goal. The narrative is not in the game yet. Side quests and things like that are like barely in the game right now. At the moment, this is basically a much more in-depth, top-down, sort of point-and-click version of Hard Space Shipbreakers, except for the fact that you can actually buy and sell ships on your own. You're not just scrapping. And also, when I'm sitting here, a bunch of pirates could pull up and try to run me off my claim and steal my items or steal my ship or like beat me half to death and throw me out of the airlock, which is why I keep the Glock on. I've got the Space Glock. My point in mentioning this is that if you're the kind of gamer that needs some kind of narrative, or you need a heading for the game to give you in order to get settled on into a title, I do not think that Ostranauts is a good purchase for you as of right now. There are plans in the future for there to be like narratives and like factions you can join, and it's going to have kind of like a, you know, a Belters versus corporate type vibe from what I can tell happening, but those things are not in the game yet. For now, you're just a little guy scrapping ships for as many hours as that keeps you entertained. For me, it's worked for about 80 hours. That's what I've put into the game since I started playing it. I think I've had the game since it came out, but I think I started playing it seriously like a year ago, and I've played 2 different sessions, and both of them have been about 40 hours, and I'm about 10 or 20 hours into this session of Addiction, so the fact that it's had me coming back over and over again is what's got me recommending it here today for people that are fans of hard sci-fi that like gritty, gross universes where everything can go wrong. I think I've just about thieved everything I can off of this junk. So I think it's time for us to head back on over to the station, and I'll show you some of the other aspects of the game. Let's go ahead and load on into, well, I got to take my dolly over here. Let me put my pallet truck down. There we go. Put down my pallet. Over here, we're going to go to the nav console, and I'm going to show you how to fly a little bit so that if you end up buying the game, you at least know what you're doing. And this is kind of unexpected, but what you'll notice is actually on our console here, this is one of the simulator aspects. It's lagging out the game, telling me over and over and over again to run the debug sequence. You can actually see the scroll bar here getting shorter and shorter as it endlessly tells me to run the debug sequence. You can actually click on the screws on these panels, and the panels will come off of just about everything in the game, and you can run different types of debug sequences. I don't know if these matter yet. These are individual errors that I think are going to be put into the game someday. Everything from EM interference to like clogged fuel lines and things like that that you're going to have to learn how to debug. For now, I don't think it matters. Instead, the way that you debug a console in the current build is you right-click on your nav station, you go debug errors, and if your character has any software development skills, oh yeah, did I mention that? Your character has like 500 different perks that all level up to level 5 from 0, and he also has a ridiculous, ludicrous number of skills that I don't think are fully implemented yet. Like, you create them at the beginning of the game, and they seem to be referenced from time to time. So like, I know EVA suit skill actually works because my character works really slowly because I didn't take EVA suit skill, but I insist on working in an EVA suit. But a lot of the skills, I don't know if they've been fully implemented just yet. I've been able to charisma somebody. I've gotten in a fist fight, so I know the melee skills work. I know the EVA skills work. But this little multiplier you're seeing to our repair and to our salvage and to our installation time, that's the game referencing one of your skills. Now, I don't think these skills level up, at least not that I've noticed. Like, I feel like for the last 10 hours or so, I've repaired things at like 2.2, and I have like installed things at like 4.4, and it hasn't like moved around much except for when I swap tools to like a higher quality device that helps me with that task. But I can't say conclusively that you don't level up. But as you can see here, my character is good at unarmed melee, we're good at zero G-ops, we're good at spaceship engineering, we're good at etiquette, oddly enough, hood etiquette, and also persuasion. Alright, I have debugged my console, so we should be good here. And there it is, the system map has come up. Welcome to K-Leg. K-Leg is the boneyard. This is where we work and live, and the game actually is going to have stuff on like different planets. Like the game is actually going to be this large where you can move in between those areas. For right now, what they have implemented is mostly K-Leg and the outlying areas. But I've never actually tried to fly. I mean, those are astronomical units, so I'm guessing they're going to put in jump gates or something down here. All the way down for scale is where we're at. I don't know why it came in zoomed out. But we are inside the boneyard, which is right here, and all of these little gray things are derelicts that are on our grid. This is an asteroid. That right there is K-Leg. It's a military, it's a salvage base, a corporate salvage base that's built on the side of an asteroid. It's basically our home away from home. There's also the flotilla, but I don't know if we can see it from here. The flotilla is new. They actually added, there it is right there. There is the K-Leg Flotilla now, which is the newest city that they've added to the game. And so I think you can go over there? It says that it's not ridiculously far. I mean, it's kind of far. I haven't been over to the flotilla, but I've been reading about the flotilla, and I'm pretty sure it's like almost a derelict pirate station or like a independent station that you can just kind of get free gas and free electricity from if you need to fill back up. Haven't floated on out there yet. So how do you actually fly this thing? You will see right now that we're docked with this ship right here. Well, there's a panel on this side, and actually let me give you guys some better visibility by taking off my helmet there so that the helmet UI goes away. There we go. So now I've got my helmet off and we're zoomed on in. You're going to want to go over to the docking controls. You're going to want to select a docking target. We're currently docked with Job NH over here. We're going to ask for pushback taxi procedure. Basically just telling our ship's basic AI what to do. And we're going to accept that plan. It's going to light up green right here. You're going to disengage our docking clamps. And that's it. We're free. We're now floating in space. The game controls with WASD, so you'll see right here, if I use Q and E, it'll rotate my pod, and then we can also go forwards, we can go backwards, but we need a target, otherwise none of these readouts right here on this panel are going to matter. So we're going to target K-Leg, because that's where we're headed. I'm going to rotate the ship into position so that it's just a straight shot. We're going to speed up time a little bit, otherwise this is going to take forever. And we'll talk about some of the basics that you need to be aware of with your ship in order to fly it. So right here we have our relational velocity. This is how fast you're moving. Since you're in space, you need an object to judge your speed versus, because everything's kind of like orbiting and moving around. So we're doing 263 meters per second relative to K-leg right now. On top of that, we're about 40 kilometers out. We've got an estimated time of arrival. Other things you'll want to pay attention to that are important are your RCS remass. Anytime you do any maneuver that requires your thrusters, your remass will go down. If you want to get more remass, add in more fuel intakes with nitrogen canisters. We also have our power reserve down here. You will want to keep an eye on that, because when it runs out, things like the doors and the airlocks seal themselves shut, and your ship effectively becomes an old Egyptian-style tomb. Oh, we're moving quick. When you're inside of 5,000 meters, you're going to want to open up the docking controls and request K-leg docking permissions, and you're going to accept. It's going to bring up this little mini game right here, and you're going to want your relational velocity to be lower than 100 meters per second. I usually like to do it at about 60 or so, because you're not going to be able to engage the clamps until your range is under 100 meters. So you got to kind of like cut it close. V relational of 60 meters per second doesn't seem that fast until you're rapidly closing in on 100 meters or less, and you can crash into the station in this game. It will let you disintegrate yourself like a gnat running into the side of a flame if you really want to, so be careful. We'll just kind of sneak this thing on in. Got about 5 seconds left, so we'll just tap it in, and there's our clamps. I click it as soon as things go green. We are now docked at K-leg. So we're going to try, and we're going to take all of this stuff that we just looted off that craft. Actually, I need to fix it all, I guess. So I'll get started fixing it all. All right, so everything's fixed, I think, that we can actually fix right now. There's a couple damaged things on in here. But if you want to sell stuff, you need to decide if you're going to be a criminal salvager or if you are going to be a legal salvager. Legal salvagers sell right here at the licensees only terminal. Illegal salvagers sell over here for a much lower price. And then on this station right here, in the bar, if you have a criminal contact, there's an underworld smuggler that will buy like the cream of the crop items from you, because there are different manufacturers, like car, you know how car parts have different manufacturers? This game also has that. And so there's a guy that will buy like the really primo stuff. Oh, do I not have my license on me? I don't have my license on me. Hold on, where's my license at? Aha. There it is. You've got like a little debit card from the Ayatomiwa company that you've got to like, you can actually, it's really immersive. You can look at it too. You can take a look at it and it'll tell you how long your salvage license is valid for. Mine's good till tomorrow, and it's got like a little, it's got like a little chip on there for their scanner. I love all the little details in this game. It's absolutely gorgeous. Like even like little stupid stuff, like I can go to the thermostat down here and I can take the front panel off of it and I can screw around with the electronics and like the inputs and the outputs. Like, the fact that the game allows you that freedom is just utterly incredible in a world full of just, like, cookie-cutter nonsense and, like, card games. I need to sell pretty much everything we pulled off that ship. So we've got batteries. I don't need the 45 caliber ammo. I don't have a 45 caliber pistol. But I will sell off some of the racks, sell off some of the trash that I don't want to sell my handgun. I need my handgun. Like, it doesn't get gangster super often in this game. Combat is not like a focus of the game. But when it does get absolutely thugnificent out there in the space streets, you kind of want to be packing. And things can kind of happen organically in this game, too. $79,000. Not a bad day's salvaging. I'll take it. Unfortunately, I'm $1 million in debt, and then the police fine me $15,000 for getting my face in the way of their fists. So we've got a lot of money to pay off as of right now. Every single day you've got to pay your bills. So your bills are due every single shift, basically what you owe to the company. You need to pay your bills over here too to the station for using their services. This is where you would fill up on, you know, your O2 and your nitrogen. Gray water and black water hasn't been added to the game yet, but it will at some point. This is where you can top up with your battery chargers as well. So there we go, and I'm paying my docking fees. If you stay for more than an hour, you got to pay your docking fees again. But for right now, we're good. We also have a small apartment in the back that we can sleep, rest, relax. It's got a toilet. It's got like a fridge and some other stuff in there. I don't use it very much because I have all those facilities on my own craft already. But, you know, on occasion, it is helpful. A new thing they've added to the game are loading zones. So you can see right here, you can designate areas of the ship where certain employees can go or certain crewmen can go, and like what those areas are recommended for. So anything that's inside this area, I don't have to carry it on my person. I can just directly sell it to a store because this is a bartering area. Everything in here is up for grabs. And then if I wanted to have, let's say I wanted my guy to automatically move all this stuff around, I could go to the orders menu and I could tell him to haul all 4 of these, and you'll see he'll skip to your loo and he'll start putting it in any haul approved zone all by his lonesome. And you can get more than your own character. You can get other crew members. They will have personalities. You can fall in love with them, or they can just be employees that you hang out with and you command them around just like RimWorld characters and give them shifts and things that they're supposed to be doing at any given time to make your salvage jobs go faster. But I need to get rid of these batteries. That's what I need to do. $153,000. It's a lot of money. Oh yeah, there are other people walking around. That's how you get new employees, is that you make friends with people, and then once they trust you, they'll agree to come on board and go on like salvage ops with you. There we go. Another $4,000 to add to the pile. Here on the K-Leg, there are multiple areas you can go to as well. There's a transit kiosk. I believe the new area where you can buy and flip and sell ships is the Azakiwe commercial over here. This game also has a really unique set of lore. Like, I can't speak highly enough of this game. Like, it's buggy, and for all the problems this game has with, like, random weird performance things and, you know, with, like, random crashes and whatnot, I still love it, man, because it's like a unique experience that you can't really get anywhere else. Like, sometimes when you walk into these areas, there'll be, like, a criminal that's in a gunfight with the cops, like, taking cover behind potted plants, and, like, you gotta, like, hit the deck and, like, hide so you don't catch a stray. I mean, it looks like there's a medical care kiosk over here. I think this is new. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen this before, so it looks like you can go get yourself fixed up if you've got, like, chronic ailments or anything else. And then this is also the place, I think, where you can buy and sell ships. This used to be an empty area, but now you can actually buy the ships in the salvage yard so that you own them, and rather than ripping them apart, you can rip apart other ships in order to fix up the ones you own and add new things to them to make them sell for more that you bought them for, which is, I think, a very interesting hook that will grab a lot of people. But we're kind of running out of time for the day. I just wanted to speak this game's praises and talk about the fact that, like, nobody ever seems to have played this game when I brought it up, and in my opinion, it's one of the most promising space simulators that has been in development for a long time, but this kind of has that feeling of like a Dwarf Fortress or Cataclysm DDA to me, where it's going to be a very long project that people work on forever until it's just right, and the developers haven't failed to do that yet. It's been years and years, and they're still stamping out major content updates every few months or so, and so check it out, Ostranauts. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so you don't have to. Today up on the chopping block, we were fooling around with the very underrated and very underground game Ostranauts. It's a game that has a very specific audience that it's targeting, but that specific audience is me, and so I kind of wanted to put a video out there so people be like, ooh, if they're like me and they've played Hard Space Shipbreakers like 4 times through and wanted like a little bit more, this game is basically that. It's Hard Space Shipbreakers unhooked from the narrative and hooked into like a main line of sandboxy, do whatever you want. And I think that's great. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Thanks, folks, and goodbye.